Irene, and welcome back to You Eating's History of Ramen, where we will be eating through all the classic Korean ramens in the order that they were introduced to the world. After Samyang Foods introduced Ramyun, which was the first Korean instant ramen in 1963, it took a while for instant ramen to gain traction because Korea was still like a pretty poor country working on getting back up to its feet. But enter Nongshim. So Nongshim started in 1965 under Lotte Foods, and they introduced a bunch of different ramens. In 1965, they introduced Lotte Ramyun, and then after that, they introduced Sogogi Sabanmyeon, and then Nongshim Ramyun, which are all ramens that don't exist today. So Nongshim didn't really get traction on any other ramens until the 80s, and in November of 1982, they introduced Yukgyejang, which was a spicy version of their Nongshim Ramyun. And Yukgyejang was a total runaway hit, and this is sort of the OG ramen that I grew up with that still exists today. This is the first ramen I ever remember eating. It's really classically comes in this habalmyeon, cup ramyeon form, and in America they have it as bowl noodle soup, which I feel like is its version of like the Japanese cup ramyeon. It exists in like a ton of other flavors too. Like at my bodega, they had a lobster flavor, a shrimp flavor, kimchi flavor, all these other kinds. I used to eat it a bunch like at rest stops, on like bus trips with my family in Seoul, and then also like after skiing in Mammoth. And it was just like super easy to travel with because it's really portable and all you really need is hot water to be able to eat it. This ramyeon is based on Yukgyejang, which is a Korean spicy stew with shredded beef and vegetables, which is really commonly used as a hangover cure in Korea. But the funny thing about this soup is it doesn't really taste Yukgyejang flavored. It was just, I think, a name that they chose because it was like relatable for Korean people because they knew what it was. However, this noodle is beef flavored. It used to come in like a styrofoam bowl, which is really good for like holding in the heat and to be to have water boiled into it, but I think now in later times it comes in this like plastic. So here is how you eat cup ramyeon. I got my water boiling back here, and so what you want to do is open it up to the middle line, give a little shake to get all the powder to the bottom so it doesn't like get everywhere when you open it. Open that up, and then just sprinkle that into your bowl. There is a line at the very bottom, and that is where you want to pour your water up into. And then the chopsticks are an important part of the preparation. This did not work because this is not the right kind of chopstick. I need the chopsticks that are like attached. Time is up, and let's take a look. Now we can open our chopsticks and open it up. The noodles are cooked through, and my favorite thing about this ramyeon is that it has these little tiny fish cakes, and then it also has this sort of Japanese style odeng, which I can't find. It's like those like Naruto odeng, I think, with like the little pink swirls. That's always my favorite part to look for. But don't throw away the lid. Fold up the lid into quarters, and then you can create a little pocket in here. If you put the noodles into your little cup that you've made for yourself, it'll help to cool off the noodles. All right, here we go. All right, so this noodle is definitely spicy. It has like a really thin noodle that's really chewy. And it has these little like scallion or chive pieces, and then these little pieces of vegetables like the fish cake and some carrot. The broth is absolutely where it's at. Oh, I found it. This is like for me, the toy in the cereal box. There's always just one. They have a photo of it, a little picture of it on the box. But that's the best one. All right. I mean, this ramyun really for me is like super nostalgia, so it rates pretty high. I think I rated samyang as like a 6.5. So for me, this is like 7-8. It's still pretty like one note. The noodles, like since they're so thin, they don't like sop up enough of the broth, but the broth itself is so good. And the broth is beef flavored according to the package, but like you can't really tell if it's like super beefy. It's definitely more leans towards spice than beef, and I think there's like a lot more like later iterations of ramyun that have like more depth of flavor. Jamesy! Entering back first.
Look at this.
Yes.
Hi!
What are your thoughts on Yukgyejang?
Love it. This was like my first hot food that I had during my quarantine.
Oh.
You will find this everywhere in America. Even like Alabama, Walmarts, you will see these. So, fun.
Are you excited for our noguri?
Noguri is my favorite! Yay!
Alright, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned, bye!
Oh, so I totally forgot. I got Yukgyejang potato chips at the supermarket, which I've been waiting to eat for this video. Ooh, they're really big chips. These are really good. They always taste like they were tossed in like the ramen powder. I've never seen these before. Here for it. It kind of reminds me of like sometimes with like ramen you will like crumble, like if you're like desperate for a ramen snack and you don't have like hot water, just crush up the ramen and then toss the ramen in the ramen powder. And I feel like that it's sort of approximating that sort of flavor. Yum.